Alright, so chapter 15, just for your information, this chapter is the one with the highest mark allocation. It means that this chapter you must understand very well. Of course, other chapters too, but this chapter yang dia keluar, I think about 16 marks is on chapter 15, 16 markah out of 80. Okay. Yang lain punya macam chapter 3, chapter 4 baru 6 markah, tapi ini 16. So you can anticipate essay, long essay. 10 marks, 12 marks. Boleh ya? So cellular respiration, first of all, do not mistake cellular respiration as breathing. It's different. Cellular respiration is not breathing. Bukan suruh you breathe in, breathe out, gaseous exchange. No, that's not cellular respiration. Cellular respiration from the name itself, cell. So this thing actually occurs in the organelle. What organelle? What organelle is the site of ATP production or site of cellular respiration?
Mitochondria.
Very good.
Mitochondria.
Pandai. 对讲. So, mesti ingatlah, for us, eukaryotes, we have mitochondria. But in prokaryote, they do not have mitochondria, but they also want to do cellular respiration. So, where do they use for cellular respiration? Siapa masih ingat? Similar to mitochondria, but that is in prokaryote. This one is for eukaryote. Other organelle. Prokaryote do not have membrane-bound organelle. So it does not have mitochondria, but it still can carry out cellular respiration, tapi dekat
Cytoplasm.
no. Tak boleh cytoplasm, dia mesti ada membrane. Start dengan M juga. Miss ada bagi tahu masa chapter 2. Mesosome. Mesti you dah macam, apa tu? It's the infolding of the plasma membrane. Okay? Ini adalah plasma membrane, and then dia akan fold inwards. Okay? It will fold inwards to become the mesosome, and that's where cellular respiration will occur in the prokaryote, macam bacterial, because they do not have mitochondria, but they want similar structure. So similar structure yang ada membrane, itulah mesosome. Okay? Any extra information je? I don't know whether they will ask in the exam, but just for you to know, for us, eukaryote, macam fungi, semualah dekat domain eukarya. All of us, we have this mitochondria, then we can carry out cellular respiration, which is the main process to produce what?
ATP.
ATP. The whole idea of doing cellular respiration is to produce ATP. Okay? Nah, Miss ada letak dekat sini. What is the function of cellular respiration? Why do we need to have this process is to produce ATP? And we have two types, aerobic dengan anaerobic. Tapi kita tak belajar anaerobic, kita belajar fermentation. So we are basically looking at aerobic respiration as well as fermentation. So fermentation is the last part of this chapter. So don't worry, we will start with aerobic respiration dulu. And ini pun Sabtu baru kita belajar. Okay? We will learn glycolysis and link reaction on Saturday. And the rest we learn it next week. So aerobic respiration dengan fermentation or anaerobic, apa beza dia? Satu aerobic, satu anaerobic. What is the difference? Aerobic ada apa? Anaerobic tak ada.
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Good job. Aerobic will require oxygen, whereas anaerobic or fermentation, it does not use oxygen, okay? That require oxygen. That's the main difference between the two. And after that, what else do you need to know? We say that the main purpose of doing cellular respiration is to produce ATP, so we need to know how to produce ATP. Ada dua cara untuk produce ATP, two ways. One that we call oxidative phosphorylation, ini yang you kena fahamkan hari ni. Another one is substrate level phosphorylation. Do not panic. Remember the word phosphorylation, okay? Right. Phosphorylation, in other words, it means dapat phosphate group, gain phosphate group. Catat ya dekat nota so that you tahu apa maksud phosphorylation. It means you dapat phosphate group. Itu maksud phosphorylation. So gain phosphate group to do what? In this case, to do ATP. In this case lah. Tapi ada je phosphorylation yang lain, dia hanya molecule to gain phosphate group tu je. But whenever we talk about oxidative phosphorylation or substrate level phosphorylation, these are the two ways to make ATP during cellular respiration. So mesti ingat, whenever we talk about how to produce ATP at this step, is either oxidative phosphorylation or substrate level phosphorylation can be your answers. Okay? So nanti you akan tengoklah bila dia melibatkan oxidative, bila dia melibatkan substrate level untuk produce ATP. Phosphorylation maksud dia hanya dapat phosphate group. Tapi oxidative phosphorylation, substrate level phosphorylation, dua jenis phosphorylation ini adalah untuk buat ATP. You jangan anggap, oh semua phosphorylation pun buat ATP. Bukan ya. Hanya oxidative dengan substrate level. Dua ini je yang kita sebut sebagai cara untuk buat ATP. Did I make it clear?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Okay, that's good. So it takes place in the cell, and we want to convert the chemical energy stored in the organic molecules, usually the glucose, to make ATP. So the main organic molecules, the main respiratory substrate is glucose. That's the reason why we need to eat. Kita makan bukan sebab kita lapar. Kita makan sebab kita nak tenaga. We need the energy that from the food that we eat. And how do we get this energy from the food? It's through cellular respiration from glucose. Okay? Especially our brain cells. Our brain cells, they really need glucose. So make sure you eat well. If not, your brain, they cannot work properly. Okay? Bukan maksud jadi gila. I mean, they need to have energy. Alright? Nanti you rasa penat, that's it. So have to eat well. Eat healthily. So now, the next part, all organisms need energy to carry out life activities. You don't need me to explain this anymore. It's just normal activities that need energy. Reproduction, active transport, movement, cell division, and anabolism. Anabolism means build up atau breakdown. Formation, breakdown. Anabolism. Is it
Breakdown?
building or breakdown? You memang nak I ketuk kepala dah. What about catabolism then? Hari tu baru I ajar. Cat for cut. So which
Cat
one
to
break
ano
down?
breakdown, Miss.
Which one? No. Which one no breakdown?
Cat catabolism to ano
That's
breakdown.
it. So anabolism ano apa? Ni apa?
Formation.
That's it. So ini yang build up others. Ini pun dalam synthesis. Ayo, you pun. Anabolism is to build up. Catabolism, cut. Catabolism is for breakdown. Kalau ini memang tak perlu energy lah. Ini memang release energy. Kalau ini yang dia perlukan energy. Please, class. And now the two types of cellular respiration. Ini kita akan tengok one by one. Now let's learn the structure of ATP. ATP is the universal form of cellular energy. Apa maksud dia? Inilah form of energy yang boleh guna dalam sel. We have many type of energy like GTP, TTP, CTP, ada banyak. Tapi yang boleh sel guna sebagai energy, the form of energy that can be used by the cell is ATP. Adenosine triphosphate. Kalau dalam exam tak tahu aja, tulis je ATP. Tapi you kena tahu lah adenosine triphosphate means ATP. Jangan dia bagi nama ni, apa ni? Habis. So adenosine triphosphate, that's ATP. ATP are formed from ADP and inorganic phosphate. So siapa tak faham PI, it is inorganic phosphate. Tulis ya, you jangan I cakap je you tak catat. Nanti I akan check your nota. Ada tak tulis? Okay, so the three mechanisms like I told you just now, kalau cellular respiration, kita hanya fokus on dua ni je. So, throughout the whole chapter, whenever I ask you question, oh, which way to form ATP, your answer is either substrate level or oxidative. Tak ada jawapan lain ya. Make sure you remember this, okay? Next week, when we do face-to-face, then I can call your name, okay? Then I will ask, which way is the one that produced ATP at this stage? So your answer is either substrate level or oxidative. Photophosphorylation, you tak belajar lagi sebab ini untuk photosynthesis. It's in the next chapter. So this chapter is only substrate level and oxidative. Did I make it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Miss.
Good job. That's it. So, jangan fikir banyak. Even dalam exam nanti, dia tanya, what way to produce ATP at this stage? Jawapan pun dua je, substrate level atau oxidative. Tu je. So, tak payah fikir banyak. Oh, apa lagi cara? Tak ada. Dua cara je untuk produce ATP semasa cellular respiration. And this one, how does ATP release its stored energy is by hydrolysis of ATP. Hydrolysis means breakdown, okay? When the bond in the ATP, it breaks, it will release energy. High energy phosphate bond break, then energy is released. That's why when ATP is changed to ADP and inorganic phosphate, energy is released. So what does it have? Ribose sugar, all right. Adenine sebab adenosine triphosphate, so dia ada adenine, ribose as well as 3 phosphate groups sebab triphosphate. Boleh ya? Structure dia jelas, clear?
Clear, Miss.
Clear,
Yeah,
Miss.
Miss.
Okay. Now, this one we will look at this after we learn both processes. And now, let's start bahagian yang sangat penting. Type of cellular respiration, we learn aerobic respiration dulu. Kelas konsep ini kalau tak ada, Sabtu ini you akan susah nak faham apa I ajar. So please make sure you understand it first. Please. Like you told me just now, aerobic respiration is the one require oxygen. It happens in the presence of oxygen. And what does it do? In the presence of oxygen, mestilah complete oxidation. Complete. So kalau aerobic ada oxygen, dia complete. What do you think about fermentation? Fermentation is anaerobic, so no oxygen. So complete ke incomplete?
Incomplete.
Incomplete.
Tak sempat nak hype. Okay,
Incomplete.
That's it. So that's the difference. You don't use breakdown anymore. I know in your high school definition you say breakdown of glucose. No, over here in matrix definition dia kita cakap oxidation. Complete oxidation is the same meaning, breakdown. Okay, so the complete oxidation of glucose to carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. This is the main product that we want in aerobic respiration. The whole purpose of doing aerobic respiration is to provide the body cells with energy. And this is in the presence of oxygen, so complete oxidation. Complete. And where does it occur? Mainly in the cytoplasm and the mitochondria. So jadual ini mesti hafal. Very, very important. Okay, as well as the equation. You dah ingat equation untuk aerobic respiration? Nanti masa you belajar chapter 16 on photosynthesis, everything will be easy. Sebab equation untuk cellular respiration ini nanti you terbalikkan, dia akan jadi equation for photosynthesis. So please start remembering it now. C6H12O6 ini glucose in the presence of oxygen. I will get energy, water, and carbon dioxide. Senang je lah kan? It's the process that we do now, every day. We breathe in oxygen so that this oxygen can go to the cell, go to the mitochondria, and then we can break down the glucose in the presence of the oxygen to give us energy. Carbon dioxide, water is the byproduct. That's why you breathe out carbon dioxide. Sebab dari cellular respiration, kita ada byproduct, that's the carbon dioxide produced, and we breathe out carbon dioxide and water vapor. Can you understand the equation?
Yes, Miss.
Kalau you dah hafal definition, you memang dah ingat equation. Sama je benda dia. Glucose, complete oxidation of glucose. It means glucose, complete oxidation, oxygen. Dapat apa? Dapat carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. So asalkan dah ingat definition, equation you pun dah ingat. Hanya kena balance lah semua 6. And the 4 stages in aerobic respiration. The first stage, we have glycolysis. Second, we have link reaction, or we call it pyruvate oxidation. The third one, Krebs cycle. The fourth one, oxidative phosphorylation. Ini produce apa?
ATP.
Very good. ATP. That's it. So oxidative phosphorylation, selain daripada tu ada substrate level phosphorylation. So bila lah kita guna substrate level phosphorylation? Kalau fourth stage, the last stage baru oxidative. So bila lagi dia guna substrate level? During number 1 and number 3. And you will look at that slowly, step by step. For the time being, you need to know where do they occur. Glycolysis is in the cytoplasm. Kalau dalam cytoplasm, aerobic and anaerobic, dua-dua pun boleh berlaku. Sebab dia tak melibatkan mitochondria. So cytoplasm je glycolysis. The first stage occurs in the cytoplasm. Bukan terus masuk mitochondria, tak. Dia start dulu dekat cytoplasm, lepas tu kita tengok ada oksigen, dia masuk mitochondria. Kalau tak ada oksigen, class, what do you think? Kalau ada oksigen, dia masuk mitochondria. Kalau tak ada oksigen,
Stay di sana.
good job. Very good. They stay in the cytoplasm. That's it. So, with the oxygen, barulah dia masuk mitochondria. So, glycolysis doesn't matter. Both aerobic, anaerobic, dua-dua boleh. Tapi, lepas glycolysis, dia nak tengok ada ke tak ada oksigen. Ada oksigen, baru dia masuk mitochondria, pergi mitochondria matrix, and then inner mitochondria membrane. So, you kena belajar the parts of mitochondria. Ini sangat-sangat-sangat penting. And then untuk yang anaerobic or fermentation, tak kisahlah, tak ada oksigen, I stay je lah dekat cytoplasm. So mitochondria matrix for both link reaction and Krebs cycle. The last one is at inner mitochondrial membrane or cristae. So this is a mitochondria. Okay. Yang air ini ialah mitochondria matrix. Tak boleh tulis matrix sahaja. Mesti tulis mitochondria matrix. And then, tak boleh hanya tulis inner membrane, outer membrane. Tak boleh. Mesti tulis inner mitochondrial membrane, outer mitochondrial membrane. Mesti tulis ini. So, it's basically like this. That's the inner mitochondrial membrane or cristae. Yang lipat-lipat-lipat ini. Hilang semua. That's the cristae or the inner mitochondrial membrane. It's the same thing, okay? Sama dua ni. And then, dia ada satu membrane lagi. Itu outer mitochondrial membrane. Ini inner, ini outer. Okay? So class, what can you say about mitochondria? How many membrane bound? Single or double?
Double.
Double
Membrane bound. Selain daripada mitochondria, apa organel lagi yang double membrane bound?
Nukleus dengan chloroplast.
Wow, very good. That's it. So mitochondrial, nucleus, and chloroplast, these three organelles, they are all double membrane bound, which means dia ada satu lapisan dekat dalam dengan luar. So inner and outer membrane. That's why you tak boleh hanya cakap inner membrane sebab chloroplast pun ada inner membrane, nucleus pun ada. So you have to be very specific. Siapa punya inner membrane? Is mitochondria punya inner membrane. So inner mitochondrial membrane, or you can call it cristae. And then dekat ruang antara dua membrane ini, antara, so inter, antara membrane, so antara membrane, intermembrane space. That's the intermembrane space. In between the inner and outer, that's intermembrane. And dalam inilah yang kita panggil matrix. Kelas tadi kita cakap glycolysis dia dalam mitochondria ke luar?
Luar.
Luar. So that means dekat luar ini ada cytoplasm and that's where glycolysis will occur. After that, barulah dia tengok, oh ada oksigen, baru dia masuk dekat matrix. Sambung link reaction, sambung Krebs cycle. Dua-dua inilah yang dekat mitochondrial matrix. And then after that, oxidative phosphorylation dekat mana?
Inner mitochondrial.
Inner mitochondrial apa?
Inner mitochondrial membrane.
That's it. Inner mitochondrial membrane. Mesti sebut membrane juga semua. Inner mitochondrial membrane. Kalau you rasa panjangnya, cristae. That's it. Boleh. You can just write cristae. If you think inner mitochondrial membrane is too long, then just write cristae. It's correct for both. So that's how the aerobic respiration occurs. It starts off at cytoplasm. From the cytoplasm, now with oxygen, they start going into the matrix. Mitochondrial matrix, they sambung stage 2, stage 3, and the last one is at the cristae or the inner mitochondrial membrane. Are you clear?
Clear, Miss.
Apa nama lain untuk Krebs cycle? Kalau I tak suka Krebs cycle, what other name can I give it?
Citric acid cycle.
Citric acid cycle.
Okay, boleh ya. Citric acid cycle atau tricarboxylic acid cycle. Dua-dua pun, tiga-tiga ini boleh. Okay, some of the questions they use citric acid cycle, some of the questions they use TCA cycle, and most of them use Krebs cycle. Mostly. K kena huruf besar. Ini mesti huruf besar. K. Yang lain tu tak kisahlah. Tapi Krebs cycle, K mesti huruf besar. Am I too fast? Are you okay?
Okay, Miss.
Okay, Miss.
Okay, Miss.
And now the last part, okay? Right. Ini hanya Miss bagi tahu je, kalau kadang-kadang dalam exam dia hanya buat 3 stages. So if 3 stages, maksudnya dia dah gabung Krebs cycle dengan link reaction. Dia dah gabung dua ini. Kalau tak, dalam syllabus kita memang pecahkan 4. In your syllabus, we have 4 stages. Glycolysis dulu, and then link reaction, Krebs cycle, and then oxidative phosphorylation. So, kalau you tengok mana-mana buku rujukan, dia cakap 3 stages je, don't get too shocked. It's correct too. Sebab dia dah gabung link reaction dengan Krebs cycle. Okay? And see, substrate level, oxidative. So what can you tell from here? Kita pun cakap substrate levels, oxidative, dua-dua pun produce ATP. Tapi mana yang produce lagi banyak ATP?
Oxidative.
Very good. Oxidative yang akan produces most ATP during cellular respiration. And dia hanya berlaku pada the last stage. Substrate level boleh semasa glycolysis, boleh juga semasa Krebs cycle. And now, the last part, you will look at what is the difference between substrate level dengan oxidative. Okay? Now, class, all that I want to tell you is just in this table. Kalau you boleh faham ini, nanti masa kita belajar the stages of cellular respiration, cepat je you akan faham, oh, inilah substrate level, oh, inilah oxidative. One way, alright? Just from this one way to differentiate, is it oxidative or substrate level? Nama oxidative sebab dia melibatkan oxidation. It means redox reaction. Always ask yourself, semasa dia form ATP, ada tak melibatkan redox? Kalau tak melibatkan redox, it is substrate level. Tu je. That's the only difference. Oxidative phosphorylation, dia buat ATP melibatkan redox reaction. ada transfer electron, ada gain, loss hydrogen, itulah redox reaction. Kalau dari cara dia buat ATP, you nampak dia ada redox reaction terlibat, itu ialah oxidative phosphorylation. Tapi kalau masa dia buat ATP tu, dia tak ada pun transfer electron ke hydrogen ke, tak melibatkan redox, then we call it substrate level phosphorylation. Jelas?
Jelas, Miss.
So, tu je. Semua ini tak perlu baca pun. I hanya bagi je. Kalau you nak baca, you boleh baca just if you don't understand what I just said. Tapi, kalau you dah faham apa Miss cakap tadi, semua ini you tak nak baca pun tak apa. Okay? As long as you know that only 2 ways to produce ATP during aerobic respiration. Dua cara je. If it's not substrate level, then it will be oxidative. And how do I differentiate the two? Ada ke tak ada redox? Ada redox, oxidative. Tak ada redox, substrate level. This is it. Pernah keluar dalam exam, dia suruh you terangkan apa tu substrate level phosphorylation. Dia tak melibatkan dia tak melibatkan transfer of electron, tapi macam mana dia buat ATP kalau dia tak guna dia tak guna transferring electron atau hydrogen. Right, class? Substrate level phosphorylation, from the name itself, phosphorylation you tahu is gain phosphate group. So sekarang kita nak buat ATP. So apa yang akan gain phosphate group to make ATP? Apa plus phosphate group will give you ATP?
ADP.
Very good. ADP. That's why we say the phosphate group is transferred to the ADP. Bagi phosphate group dekat ADP, terus dia form ATP. And the thing now is, phosphate group ini dari mana? Kalau substrate level, phosphate group inilah dari substrate. Tu je. Did I mention reduction or electron or oxidation?
No.
No. This thing is very straightforward. Kalau oxidative phosphorylation, dia leceh, dia kena transfer electron dulu, hydrogen dulu, semua tu baru boleh buat ATP. Tapi substrate level is very straightforward. Substrate bagi phosphate group dekat ADP, terus form ATP. That's all. Inilah substrate level phosphorylation. The way of making ATP semasa substrate level is by taking the phosphate group from substrate. Tu je. The phosphate group from substrate given to ADP, terus dia form ATP. Tak ada apa-apa electron oxidation reduction, tak ada. That's it. That's substrate level phosphorylation. Any question? Am I too fast?
No, Miss.
No, Miss.
So far, so good.
Okay. So I will end now. I will give you some time to do a bit of revision on your pre-UPS later. So we will continue on Saturday.